is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Next Guy Up podcast. It is the off season, and we are super excited to be diving into NHL and NBA playoffs this episode. We're done talking NFL. We're done talking college football. As far as we know, we're not gonna do it on purpose, at least.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't let him fool you. He has made promises. No Jaguars talk, no NFL talk. And somehow we'll be talking about, some NBA player. Oh, he's from Jacksonville. Speaking of Jacksonville, what about, Zay Jones being cut and then going to, for some reason,
everywhere.
The Chiefs.
He's
everywhere.
He's visited every team. But that's Mason talking about the Jags. I didn't even say anything about the Jags. That's what normally happens. I say I'm not going to talk about him, and then Zach or you try to you poke me once and I go on a ramble. But we're not doing that. It's summertime. It is time to put our focus on the NHL and NBA playoffs. They've been super fun so far. So that is what we've got planned for today's episode. But before we dive into that, a little update. If you have been with us for a while, we did an episode we labeled Dynasty Mode, where we've got our, like we were talking about, we have our NFL teams. I'm a Jaguar fan. Mason is a Titans fan. Zach's a Titans fan. All three of us are UT Vols fans. But we're pretty casual. Maybe not casual. I'd say we're a little above casual as far as it goes for other sports. NBA, NHL, baseball, and golf. So we all picked a team. We did a point system for certain things like MVP, or if they made the playoffs, championship, things of that nature. So we're going to do a little bit of an update since, we've got some results so far of who's made playoffs and things like that. So I don't remember Zach's whole list off the top of my head. I know he had
the Celtics NBA team.
So they're playing tonight,
and then he had Dodgers and baseball.
Which they're like the best team in baseball.
Which I will go ahead and say we all laughed at Tinsley. I want to have a public announcement here. The Orioles are leading in the American League East.
Yes,
just
sir.
Just barely. But we basically made fun. Not made fun, but we kind of laughed. And it was a shocking pick. It went 1 of 1.
Yeah. So let me. I did not have to take them there. I will say after the pick, and then after you guys made, I think Zach picked right after me, and I think that's where he took the Celtics. I was like, oh, you know what? I might have misunderstood this assignment just a smidge. So in my head, I've been looking for a baseball team to root for. The Orioles are a team I had fun betting on last season. Got a lot of young guys. They have the number one farm system of prospects coming up. So I was like, yeah, duh, I need to take them first overall. Like, why wouldn't they be picked first? And then immediately after, Zach was like, I'm going to go with the best team in the NBA, the Boston Celtics. I was like, you know what? Yeah. That's pretty smart. I was pretty dumb for not doing that move. But, I will lay in the bed that I have made and call it a day.
But you still, I think the Lakers. The Lakers was the head scratcher, actually, not the Orioles.
Yeah. So the Lakers were my last pick, and I kind of just took them on a whim of maybe LeBron would drag them one more time to the finals.
Yeah.
When we've talked about after the seasons are over, we'll get to do redo one pick. I'm for sure I'm getting rid of the Lakers. I should have picked the Thunder. I thought about it because they're super young. And that's what I should have done. And we'll talk a little bit more about them after this update. But so that was stupid.
Youngest team, right? In the NBA, the Thunder.
They're
looking great.
I saw a stat where they didn't have a player who scored over 20, who did not score a point over the age of 25 in their whole first round series until the last game when they were blowing them out. Some guy came off the bench. Their whole team's under 25 years old.
Yeah. That's the dynasty team you actually want for long term.
Loaded with picks. they're
Yeah.
loaded with picks from that Paul George trade. So
Yeah.
they're set up to do some crazy stuff this offseason.
Yeah, for sure. The reason why we brought up the dynasty was we had so all three of our NBA teams, we got NHL hockey playoff, which we'll talk about in a minute, but all of our NBA teams made the playoffs, so we all received a point. However, everything else has been stagnant so far until Joker won MVP.
Yep,
So
it's 3 for you.
that's 3 points for me. I'm ahead. I'm not going to get comfortable because I'm sure hockey will have something else to throw a wrench in the plans. But as of right now, something pretty. I don't remember Zach's NHL team at all.
I
I couldn't
couldn't
even
think of
tell you.
his NHL team either. I was trying to think of it
I wonder if they
because
made the playoffs. I know mine did, and so did yours.
yeah, I had Boston Bruins. I'm trying to think of Zach's. I can't think. I don't know. I think Zach took a Canadian team.
I'll have to ask him.
Maybe, yeah. We'll find out. We'll let him tell you when he comes back. But I mean, speaking. So yes, so Mason's he got the 3 extra points for the player winning MVP, which I was rooting for. If you guys follow us on TikTok at all or have been listening for a while, you know that I like to invest money in futures.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one future, and they all they have one cherry on top, and we're about to get there right now. But one of the legs in one of them was Jokic MVP. So I was very excited for him to win that because there was some. I mean, he closed it like a minus 400 favorite, so I was glad I didn't lose like on a leg like that because I would have been very upset because they didn't even let you like bet it anymore with like 2 or 3 weeks left in the season because he was such a like far and away favorite.
Yeah.
SGA of the Thunder kind of pushed him a little bit, but they gave it to Joker.
3 in the last 4 seasons, I do believe.
Yeah. Last
And
season, Embiid won it.
yeah, I think there's a point where a player goes on a run and then they kind of slope off. Like think of LeBron James. Like he went on like a run there for a minute. Michael Jordan, and then they just kind of stop. I think they want to just like give share the love to all the
Yeah,
other players. So they
I
don't want to
do.
dominate like for 10 seasons of one player. So I think this might be the end of this. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, and that's especially once we get to NBA talk. I kind of have this good talking point for that, but
We can touch on that.
yeah, we could touch on that there. But I think you're right. I think the voters get fatigued. I do honestly think LeBron, if you were to put bias aside, he probably could have won MVP for like 10 straight years during that stretch of with the Cavs and Heat, and then even back with the Cavs. He was the hands down best player, most valuable player to his team until like Steph kind of started hitting his stride and started winning some MVPs. I mean, it's just. But I do, and Joker is the most valuable player for his team, so I get why he's won it so many years now. But I do think you will see, even in the '90s, voters got fatigue of just giving it to Michael Jordan. I think like Patrick Ewing won once in there, and John Stockton won one as well. So I don't know. It's betting on those kind of awards is weird because it turns into like a popularity contest more than anything. So I don't normally do that, but I had a free. It was actually from that Gronk "Will he make it" field goal promo.
Yeah.
So that's where I got the. So if you got to pick one or the other, and I was like, well, I'll just pick that he misses it, and I thought it'd be like a $5 free bet. Like I didn't think anything of it. Turns out it's a free $25 bet, and
Pretty
so
good.
I took that I took UConn to win it all. Check. Joker to win MVP, check. And the last leg is Mason's Avalanche from Dynasty mode, which that was the pick that hurt my feelings that he took that when we did that draft because it was pretty well into the NHL season, and I at that point had hopped on the Avalanche bandwagon pretty quietly. Like Mason and Zach knew about it because they saw these futures I took where I took the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, UConn to win it all, and the Avalanche. And I did this kind of last year too, but with the Boston Bruins. That's why I picked them for Dynasty mode when Mason took the Avalanche. So I've got like a bunch of free bets everywhere, and all that's left is the Avalanche. So I've never been rooting harder for this Dynasty mode for Mason to get some more points.
Currently wearing an Avalanche hat right now, repping it. So
I tell you, man,
there you go.
Their merch is nice. Like if they do this, I might just become a Colorado Avalanche guy.
There you go.
Might turn into a hockey head right in front of your eyes.
You mean win. And I'm okay with this because and that was not a strategy. I completely forgot you took the bets. I was just looking at who was leading MVP voting, and
I think he might get another 3 points.
Yeah,
Nathan
possibly.
McMahon or I can't ever say his name.
Yeah, but he was leading at the time, so I took him with also. They are now what, plus 450, but I think at the time they were like plus 900 to win. So it's significantly dropped, which is good for you.
Yeah, for sure. Everywhere I have it, it's around the 800 to 900 range. They're the second favorites now to win. So that's fun. Big game tonight. So when you're listening to this on Friday, you'll know my mood. Which I honestly, full transparency, I expect them to lose this game. They won game one, the second round series. They
stole it at home.
They stole a game from the Dallas Stars, and we can just go ahead and dive on into NHL playoffs here. I think, right? You feel
Let's
good?
Do it.
All right. Yeah. So that was Dynasty mode update. But yeah, so the Avalanche come off it was a 5-game series, I believe, 5 or 6 against the Jets. I think it was 5.
5.
Yeah, they lost the first game in Winnipeg, and then
made you nervous.
Swept them after there. Yeah, I didn't love that. But the Dallas Stars were a pretty big favorite team for like coming out of the west side of the NHL when the playoffs started. They're a very good team, but they unfortunately got matched up with the Vegas Knights, who are one of the most physically dominating teams in the NHL. And I really do feel like they just had a 7-game war where it was just super physical. They beat each other up the whole time. And I think that does give a leg up to the Avalanche. I think that's why you're seeing such a shift in the odds. I mean, when the Avalanche lost that first game against Winnipeg, they were like plus 1,200. And then now just 6 games later, we're the second favorite at plus 450, plus 425, some books. So hockey to me is you just have to find that team that gets hot, and maybe it's just because I am so focused on the Avalanche, but they are a team that has seemed to have caught fire here the last few games on this west side of the conference. And then you've got a team like the Canucks. You know, they got to play the Preds. The Preds weren't supposed to make the playoffs. The Preds are like in a rebuild type situation. And they kind of just got hot at the right time and kind of, snuck into the playoffs. They fought pretty hard, but they came across this Vancouver team that's pretty solid across the board, but they've got a lot of injuries now too. Like their top 2 players are hurt. Their starting goalie got hurt against the Preds. So they're playing the Oilers, who have, I've listened to a few hockey podcasts and listened to their broadcast. This guy, McDavid, is apparently the God's gift to American hockey, even though he plays for a Canadian team. He is the only hope apparently for a Canadian team to win it all. He's super talented and all that, but they blow a 3-goal lead the other night against Vancouver, so that's looking like it's going to just be another drag it out, knock it out war. So I don't know. I like our chances on the west side with the Avalanche. I know me and Mason's on some of these futures as well. He took some of these 3 bets with me.
For sure.
And then on the east side of the bracket, you've got Carolina and the Rangers.
Not looking good for Carolina. They're tied currently right now, and they're down 2-0 in the series.
Yeah. And here's the thing about Carolina. They were like the number one betting favorite going into the playoffs. So that should have told you all you need to know, because the number one betting favorite in hockey never wins. And then you know who else never wins is the team that wins the President's Cup. I'm looking at you, Rangers. The team with the best record going into the NHL playoffs has not won the Stanley Cup since '02.
Shout out Boston Bruins last year.
Yeah, so so I really got introduced to hockey last year. Like, I mean, I've like vaguely kept up with it before that, but last year, because of the bet I had, I was like, oh, all right, let's go hockey. And so I had just assumed, because they were the best team all year and they had the best record and broke all these records of like points scored, I was like, oh, we're dominating. We're never going to lose. Like, I'm about to cash this 5K bet and, get hype. No, they lost in the first round to a 7 seed. So it just goes to show you hockey is just super unpredictable.
I feel like that in baseball is a little more unpredictable than NBA and football. I could be wrong. Speaking of the Bruins, though, we got a shootout here.
Yeah,
they are going back and forth, blowouts. A lot of fighting. I saw a majority.
The fighting was fun.
Wait, it was Florida that took the win.
Yeah, Florida. Last
Bruins
season,
took the first one.
Florida bounced them. Florida made it all the way to the Stanley Cup as a 7 seed last year, and played the Golden Knights, who were a 4 seed. So, like we are talking about, it's never the team you like. It's never the 2 1 seeds. Like, it's just not how NHL works. But yeah, Florida and Boston kind of have like a little 2-year rivalry going on here.
They hate each other.
There was like 5 fights last night. But shout out David Pasta for the Boston Bruins. He's like their star player, and I guess a thing in the NHL is your star players don't fight. If someone tries to fight your star player, that's when you put one of your goons in, and he goes in and beats the crap out of that guy. You just don't fight star players. But he was getting chippy. He wanted to set the tone, like, hey, we're not like afraid of this physicality, and agreed to fight one of the other guys from the Panthers. He lost the fight, but it kind of fired the boys up. I think you'll see a good bounce back from Boston, back in Boston the next game. So that's been the most fun series for me to watch. I mean, I'm like super into what's going on with Colorado, but Boston's games have been super fun because it's been like a blowout one way or the other. All their games, even with their first round matchup against the
Toronto
Maple Leafs, yeah, and they blew they were up 3-1 in that series, and then it ended up going to 7. So hockey, I'll tell you this: if you don't watch hockey at all during the year, it's a lot. Hockey is a hard sport, I feel like, to get into, especially if you're not in like a Midwest city or a northern city where like hockey is available for something you like to play as a kid. Like down here in the South, we don't know how to play hockey because there's no hockey league, pee-wee hockey league to play in.
Yeah.
There's just not. I mean, maybe like in bigger cities like Nashville or something there is. But so I don't know all the rules of hockey. But even before I got into betting, playoff hockey was always fun. It's a different environment. It's really fun to get into. So I encourage our listeners that if you don't know anything about hockey or don't watch, just give them a try. It's entertaining. It's fast paced. These guys are flying around. It's really fun.
At least go to a game, because it's way better in person than it is on the TV.
Yeah, TV's a little hard just because the puck is so small. It is, you kind of like, all right, where is this thing? But in person, it is. I've probably had just as much fun at a hockey game, like a meaningless Nashville Predators game in the middle of the season, than I've had at some football games.
Yeah.
So
it's electric.
It is. It's a lot of fun. So that is our hockey. I think that's, that's solid. For guys that aren't hockey guys, we just gave you a full breakdown of the whole NHL playoffs, of what's going on. We even named players.
Pretty good.
So for the haters and the people on the street saying we don't know ball, not only do we know ball, but we know puck as well. So take that, nerds.
Take that.
All right.
Speaking of ball,
Speaking of ball,
ready for some NBA talk? Because
yes,
we're in the
NBA
playoffs right now.
playoffs.
Yeah. So, what should we kick off with? Do you want to like break down these like matchups? Do you want to go over some players? Because I feel like you're cooking right now, and I don't want to throw off.
Oh yeah.
You know,
So I think let's talk a little. I had one little talking point here
yes,
that I wanted to talk about. And we're not. This isn't like some take that I created. Like this, everyone's kind of talking about this, but me and you have been NBA fans for a long time. I have been a long standing. LeBron James is my favorite player. LeBron James is the best NBA
yep,
player in the league. He is 39 years old. He did still average 28, 8, and 8 this year. So for anyone who's trying to like downplay what he is, take a look in the mirror of being a hater because he is still an amazing basketball player. They obviously got 5-1 was their series against the Nuggets. They won one game there, so proud of them. And then the Warriors, they didn't even make the playoffs. The Suns got swept with Kevin
yep,
Durant. And so I guess my kind of what I'm taking away from these playoffs is I think we finally have a lot of parity in the league. There's so many good teams that have been homegrown now. You're seeing teams like the Thunder build through the draft, the T Wolves, the Knicks. Make a few trades and add some guys to free agency and kind of build that way. The Celtics are a homegrown team with a few pieces like Porzingis and Drew Holiday through trades, but it's finally, I think we're finally starting to see where like it was somewhat like this last year, I guess, with Denver winning it all too. That anyone has a chance. Like there's no more of these. Hey, Kevin Durant went and got on the Warriors because they lost last year in the finals, so now they're unbeatable. It's not going to just be whatever team LeBron's on in the East is going to play Steph and the Warriors in the West, because that's what it felt like for like forever, for a very long time. Um, so and talking about like dynasties, like I feel like the NBA has gone through the Bulls in the 90s and then the early 2000s with the Spurs and Lakers and then all those LeBron teams like I talked about, and then the Warriors. But I really feel like we might not see a dynasty for a while because there's so many good young players spread out across the league that aren't interested in joining up and doing super teams. They want to stay where they're at and do their own thing.
yeah.
So it's been really fun to watch.
And I think super teams, this has been a huge topic, but super teams with like, and I'm not discrediting the head coaches, but your Frank Vogels or your like anybody that's just kind of brought in to almost not step on the players like toes.
Yeah.
So,
Which
the Lakers got rid of their coach, and it's just this kind
the,
of,
the
I think
Suns
the
fired
players just yeah, they had a super team, and the Suns fired their
after
coach, and
1 year.
I think it's just one of those things where it's like the super team motto where they spend tons and tons of money, and then they just get a head coach that is just kind of a player's coach, and the players kind of run the team. I think that might be dead, at least for right now, because I'm seeing a shift. It's kind of a out with the old and with the new. And I might be getting a little backlash here, but we're seeing, I saw a stat. It's been like forever since we had a second round where we didn't have one of these three players, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, or LeBron James. And we have none of
Right.
those. So, real quick, we got the teams that are left. We have the Celtics, and obviously like Jason Tatum, and we don't have to go through all these, but we got the Celtics, Jason Tatum. The Knicks, we got Jalen Brunson. The Thunder, we have SGA. Mavericks, still Luka is very young, and then we got the Timberwolves, which have Anthony Edwards, and they all have several. It's not just that one player on each team, but they're all younger. We have like this new passing of the torch when it
Yeah.
comes to the players. I'm not saying that the ones I listed off are like LeBron and KD, their time is over. I'm just saying it almost
Right.
looks like a shift in the superstar players, the ones you get on like literal like NBA 2K, and you see like the superstar logo. That would be
Yeah.
these guys now. And the other ones, they're not. I'm not saying anything. Don't put any words in my mouth of like washed up or anything. But Father Time's undefeated, and we're starting to see the passing of the torch and a new era with NBA players. So
Yeah, I mean Anthony Edwards, he's been a good player.
yes,
Um, I mean it's not like he's like out of nowhere. Oh wow, who's this Anthony Edwards kid? Like no, he's been very good in the league for since he was a rookie. But it feels like he's now taken that next step where he's like, no, I'm making myself known as like a guy, like one of the guys in the NBA that you have to not even just like watch out for, but he's becoming much like must watch TV.
yeah,
Like I can't wait to just watch what he does tomorrow night. Um, and that's fun to have. I mean, he's 22 years old. I think the talking heads of ESPN need to calm down with throwing around the Michael Jordans. Like, is this kid the next Michael Jordan? I'm like, can we let Anthony Edwards be Anthony Edwards for a little while? I
yeah,
mean, he's 22. He's going. I think this is like his fourth year in the league. And what's funny about him is all the questions. Like when he came out in the draft, like he made a comment about how like he loved playing football. He was a highly recruited guy coming out of high school for football as well. And people were like, "Oh, does he even like basketball, or is it just money for him? Like, is he ever really going to care?" Turn on one T Wolves game and watch how he plays defense. You don't even have to watch him play offense. Watch how hard he hustles on defense and after loose balls and rebounds. Dude loves playing basketball. Um, and that's fun to have him. Like I said, he's 22 years old. So, we're hoping for a long, healthy career for him. And that's going to be fun for us to watch him develop and continue to be a great player. But the league, like you talked about, like the changing of the guard, there's so many young, good talents right now. I kind of had a few listed here so we're talking about Edwards, Carl Anthony Towns, also on the T Wolves. He's been in the league a long time, and he's made some comments that make people like kind of turn their nose up at him, like, oh, you say you're a lot better than you actually are. He's a good basketball player. He's probably a top 10 player at his position, I would say, as a center.
yeah.
So I mean, you've got two good young guys right there teamed up together. And I've only got two names here for the Thunder, but like we were talking about earlier, so I got SGA and um
Chet
Chet.
Holmgren.
Yeah, Chet
Yeah,
Holmgren, which people don't really like talking about him because he doesn't score a lot. Newsflash, guys, defense does exist in the NBA as much as like we don't want to say it does. It's a very important part of basketball. He can score. He's still developing that part of his game. He's a decent 3-point shooter. He's never going to have like the size to be like a post you up kind of center. But he's 7 foot. He blocks shots. He can hit threes, and he can handle the ball like a point guard, which is really what like a new age center is anyway. But you got like Jalen Williams on there as well. Lou Dort is this crazy defensive maniac who can hit threes. So the Thunder are like another team, and they have so many first round picks. I saw the list of what they got in the Paul George trade when they traded Paul George to LA. It was like 4 unprotected first round and second round picks, SGA, because the Clippers had drafted SGA, and somebody else, and I think it's like a piece that's like on their bench. But that's so much draft capital and a guy who finished second in MVP voting this year just for Paul George, which that's just a whole nother thing of the Clippers are just a daggum disaster, and they always will
yeah,
be. Um, but and that's even where like the Thunder, they won the first game they played tonight against the Mavericks. But even say they don't win it all, this is a good year for development. But they could take some of those draft picks and make a trade and go get a guy like, oh, I don't know, maybe he'll come home. Maybe it's time to bring KD home and let him be I think he'd be okay with playing second fiddle to the young guys and just being there as a top, just a scorer and letting them do the heavy lifting.
I was gonna say, is that a good fit or not? I'm
I
not
don't
real
know.
sure.
Yeah, a lot of guys were. I was listening to this podcast, and they love the idea of bringing Kevin Durant to the Thunder to add to this team. And I guess that's just where you have to figure out if KD, like, where is he at in his career? Like, is it important for him to win a championship, or is it more important for him to be the guy? Because I think that's why he left the Warriors. They would have never lost, like they would have been the NBA champions every year with Kevin Durant. I think he got his 2 rings and said, you know what, I got rings now. I don't want to be like, I don't have to hear that anymore. I want to do this on my own or fail. And so I think
Yeah,
that's why he went to the Nets. That obviously failed dramatically. And I think that's why he went to the Suns, because it's like, who can I go team up with but be the guy? Because even with Devin Booker, who should be on this young stars list, Devin Booker is a young star. He's just in a bad situation. I hate it for him. I like Booker, but the Suns are just a disaster organization
they
somehow.
fell for the super team. They fell for it, and look at them now. They were in the finals not too long ago.
Yeah. Well, they
But
got a new owner, and that was his first year. And I feel like that's what happens with new owners, especially in the NBA, because you can build a super team if you're willing to pay the luxury tax. And so as a new owner, you're like, I don't care. I just will pay
yeah,
the luxury tax, and I'll get Kevin Durant, and I'll get Devin Booker, and I'll trade for Bradley Beal, and trade away my bench and the core of my team, just to have 3 stars that all do the same thing. They're all ball dominant scorers from the mid range. So it's not even like you're not spreading
three
the
pointer.
offense around. It's so you have no defense at all. Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant have never tried to play defense their whole career. So
Yeah,
that's another situation where the Suns are just kind of a disaster. But I could see where, like, I think they're going to kind of blow it up a little bit this year and start over. I don't think you can trade Devin Booker because he's like the homegrown kid. Bradley Beal has a no trade clause, so you're kind of stuck with him. So that's a tough pill to swallow at like $20 million a year for the next
mm,
2 years. But I do think they'll try to trade Kevin Durant and get some assets. If I was the Thunder, I wouldn't do it. I would try and trade for a piece with all these first round picks and stuff, but I don't know it's Kevin Durant. I don't know that you want to bring him in and he's such a distraction to such a young team that's like building chemistry together, and then I don't want them to feel like, oh, well, now it's Kevin's team because he built it. Like he was like the face of the franchise for the Thunder.
that's what I'm saying. I feel like he would kind of come in and just take like everybody be like, oh, Kevin's team. And when you got all these young stars there, I don't know. But real quick, I want to save us from getting some hate mail, because if we're talking about young players, we were talking about NBA playoff young players, and then we transitioned into young players outside of the playoffs. But I got to bring up 20-year-old Victor Wembanyama, which went like
Mm-hmm.
literally landslide. I believe it was literally like even money, which I'm such an idiot, or close to it. It was like minus 130 to not take him to win Rookie of the Year. And then
Yeah.
everybody smashed it, and it jumped to like minus 400. And I think it just never looked back. But
No.
he just looks like just a different like specimen out on the court. He doesn't even look human. He's shooting threes. He's averaging like 4 blocks a game. I would actually have to look that up, but he's like, I'll just look at a stat sheet randomly and I'll be like, oh, 7 blocks. And people are legitimately talking about him like having a quadruple double. But he was
With
just
blocks.
with blocks.
Yeah,
He's
it's
just on
wild.
I think he had 10 in one game one. He's just on a
Yeah.
whole nother planet players. So I really do think we can still enjoy it. We can have the best of both worlds, right? You can like have the players that you just appreciate before they retire,
Yeah.
and you can still and you can have these young guys come in and just like it's fun to watch them. So
Yeah.
we got two things. There's nothing wrong with either one, and
No.
it's just going to make for fun seasons to come. Because I think I was getting tired of like the Warriors And I really do think that we could have just like, and I know everybody's talking about Nuggets back to back over here, Dynasty team with them down 2-0 against the Timberwolves. By the way, Timberwolves shocking the world over here, but I don't know if they actually are. Everybody knew they were a good team, but I didn't know that they would be up 2-0.
I don't think anyone had that on their bingo card of the T-Wolves starting the first two games in Denver and
Yeah,
not even just like winning, but
blowing them out.
they won like what, like
It's
115
crazy.
to 80. They
Yeah.
held an NBA team to 80 the other night.
Yeah. So but I really do think that we're not. Everybody's gonna be like, well, don't say nothing about dynasty teams when we still got the Nuggets here. I'd be shocked. We'll see, but I mean, I'm enjoying this in New York, and all the New Yorkers are crazy about their basketball. But I think
Oh, Mason.
Jalen Brunson, if he's healthy, we'll see what happens. I still think they'll get like smacked around by the Celtics if they get to that round. They're up 2-0 against the
Oh,
Pacers.
but
What do you
why are
mean?
you in? I just mean, why do you enjoy this?
I mean,
I,
it's just the hype, the obnoxious people. It's kind of entertaining. It's
maybe it's.
better, huh? Go
I
ahead.
think it's just the older I get,
The
the
more annoyed
more
you get.
the more annoyed I get with New York. Um, this whole premise that like New York is the most important thing in sports. Um, wrong. No one cares. Like outside of New York, no one cares. Like if no one cares, yeah, it's fun. Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart and DiVincenzo. You got the three guys from Villanova that won the national championship together. That's great. They're all playing 48 minutes a game because they're playing for Tom Thibodeau. That's smart. And guess what? They just lost another starter. OG has a hamstring pull, so he's not starting. You've already
Mm.
lost another starter recently. So you play 7 guys total. You got 2 hurt. So good job, Tom Thibodeau, you idiot.
They should
Um,
get past the Pacers, but once they meet the
yeah,
Celtics in
probably.
the next round,
Yeah, they'll
we'll
get
see
blown
what
out.
happens. Zach's
Which
dynasty, he might be the only one left standing. He was smart. He actually sniped me with them.
Celtics,
They
yeah,
they had the better path. I was going to go them, but I knew if they got taken, I was going to go with the possibility of Joker winning another MVP.
yeah.
I still thought maybe they could make it there. I didn't know, but it's looking good for the Celtics right now. So
Well, and that's the other thing too. I want to say is like, and I don't know what it is, but the West has always been significantly better. Like the better
yeah,
teams have always been in the West. Like if you were to just look at records of like the record of the 5 seed in the East compared to the 5 seed in the West, it's very different. Um, in the East, I mean, so you've got the Celtics, and I feel like everybody knows about the Celtics. You got Jason Tatum. He's technically still a young star, even though I feel like he's been in the NBA for like 10 years. Um, but that's because he only played 1 year at Duke and came in the NFL, NBA. And then you got Jalen Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Porzingis, and Al Horford still checking up buckets.
yep.
My goodness, this man has found the fountain of youth. He's playing. It's like his 17th year, I think. Something crazy like that.
Share with all of us the fountain of youth. We need to know where it's at.
He's still playing big minutes for them.
Yeah,
Porzingis got hurt. He's playing 30 plus minutes a game at pushing 40 years old. And he's not like a physical specimen like LeBron, like where he's just like a freak. He just looks like a regular dude who could be playing pickup games at the YMCA. Um, just doing it a lot bigger and better level. But yeah,
maybe
like
that's
you,
maybe that's the key to it all is
maybe
playing pickup at the Y. You get to become that great closer to 40.
ageless. Yeah,
Yep, that's right.
but like you said, I feel like we've got a lot of good young teams like to root for, and we've got like a lot of good storylines for years to come. Now, I mean, like the list goes on and on. There's like the Magic have a lot of good young players, and I can't ever say his name, Paolo Banchero. I think I said it actually. Um,
Wow.
I know, right? John Morant. I mean, John Morant missed this whole year with an injury, but he's still a very good young player. You got poor guys on the Pistons like Cade Cunningham,
Yep.
who sidebar Spurs, please trade for Cade Cunningham. Team him up with
Victor.
Yeah, Victor. That would be the move right
Sidebar.
there.
Celtics, be better as a team. Don't waste this man's talent, because that was hard to watch, and they're still bad after getting like the best player drafted in like forever, and you're gonna waste this man's talent. So get a better team. I'm talking to you, Spurs ownership.
Yep, pretty much.
All right. Well, go ahead.
No, I was just saying. So that I think I was about to just do the same thing you're about to do. So that's NBA playoffs / like the look into the league and what's going on. We'll have some more. We're definitely going to be talking more NBA as the summer rolls on with these playoffs, because the other thing about NBA playoffs is they're till June. And it's May. We still have another month. They drag it out as long as they can.
They really do.
So
we got plenty of time to talk about it.
So we'll have plenty of storylines coming out of it, and we'll have some stuff to talk about once the season's over. But so just in case you didn't think this podcast knew anything about NBA basketball, me and Mason just took turns naming like every good young player in the whole league, because we know ball just like we know
know ball. That's right. I'm so excited about this next topic.
Yes.
This is going to be a fun one.
So because we are a world-renowned podcast, we need to jump on this topic just like everyone else has.
That's right.
Austin Rivers goes
on, by the way.
Okay, beautiful. Goes on the Pat McAfee show, which I'll save that comment to myself. I don't like the Pat McAfee show. So he goes on there, makes a very bold claim, stirs up the internet. My only issue with this is he could have waited till like the middle of summer or something, because then we could have had some, we still have playoffs to be talking about, but now we're all talking about this. But this quote Mason's about to give us has blown up online, and I can't wait to talk about it, because I feel like we've had some conversations like this offline many times.
We have. The quote started, "I can take 30 players right now in the NBA and throw them in the NFL. You cannot take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA." And with that, JJ Watt responded, "You don't got a job in either right now. Go ahead and try it," which is probably one of the best response I have, which this is actually the first time I've noticed Austin Rivers wasn't on an NBA team, was actually when it got pointed out that he was.
His dad will have him on a team next year.
I'm sure he will. But that's got us. I want you to go ahead and kick us off on your thoughts, and then I got some fun little articles and topics and things just to dive deeper into this subject. So go ahead with Tim's thoughts here.
All right, so I don't think there's 30 dudes in the NBA that could play in the NFL. Could they make a roster? Maybe, because rosters are significantly bigger in the NFL. There's saw a thing today. There's like 488 roster spots in the NFL. And there's only 12 per team in the NBA for 30 teams. So Dr. Math isn't here, but someone beep boop bop beep boop beep boop, whatever 30 times 12 is. So yeah, the physicality part of it to me is what makes it different. I don't think you're going to take these guys in the NBA who call for fouls constantly every time they're bumped and stick them. Like the popular thing is to say, well, he could play receiver because he's 6'6". Okay, well, he doesn't like to be touched. And in the NFL, you have these things called press man corners, whose whole job is to say, you're not getting off this line past me freely. Like, I'm going to jam you up for 5 yards and see what happens.
30 times 12 is 360, by the way.
It's a lot.
Is that what you meant?
then there's significantly more than that. Maybe I missaw it, because the NFL is 32 teams with 58 roster spots. So that's a lot more.
Yeah.
Significantly more. Anyway, So I think that debunks the whole theory of could they play receiver, and I don't think any of them are playing corner because they're not going to want to tackle. None of them are big enough to play offensive or defensive line except for LeBron. I feel like there was that lockout year where they were all playing flag football and stuff, and LeBron was like, I might go play in the NFL if we
Yep.
can't get this NBA stuff figured out." I feel like he could have done it just because if you look at LeBron, he is built like a defensive end in the NFL. It's crazy that he is the way he is as a basketball player when he very well could be like a tight end or something. And then all the popular examples of NBA players could play in the NFL as well as well. Antonio Gates, he was a basketball player, and then he switched to football. He played like low level Division II basketball, and then was like, you know what, this isn't going to work out for me. Let me go try to be in the NFL. Um, and he's like the rare example. Draymond Green played football in college. He was a joke. He was terrible. He was so bad at football. It was embarrassing.
Yeah. I have a list of NFL players who actually played college basketball.
Okay.
So are you ready for it? Do you have any guesses, by the way?
I have a few.
Okay. All right. So go ahead with that. I have a short list.
All right. DeAndre Hopkins. He played at Clemson.
Yep.
And then the only played in college. That's
some of them had high school. Yeah.
So
there's
the one
high
I was
school
going
on here as well.
Yeah. So I let me backtrack for a second. I was trashing on NBA players not being able to play in the NFL. I also don't think there's any NFL players. I don't actually. No, I know. There's not an NFL player that to me could go play in the NBA. Like the 15th, the dude at the very end of an NBA roster is an amazing basketball player. Like if he's in an open gym, he's not missing. Like it's just like it's such a different level. Like football players like to play basketball, they're missing wide open threes all the time. That's not happening to NBA players, even at the end of the bench. Like I saw a story, someone was like, "Well, Mike Evans could for sure play in the NBA. He's 6'5", super athletic." Well, he played in high school. He was a player, a basketball player in high school. He was not even a top 200 player recruit because he tried to play basketball in college and it didn't work out for him. Like that's the difference. Like there's such a huge talent discrepancy, and there's a few. You have like not Terrell Suggs, Suggs that plays for the Magic. He was on that Gonzaga team. He was like a 4-star quarterback in high school, but he decided to play basketball. And a lot of people are like, he should have played football. He's probably better at that.
Probably better.
But those are rare. Those are rare cases.
Yeah. So let me throw some names out here. Mo Alley Cox, tight end for the Colts.
But he's not even good.
276-pound tight end, averaged 7.7 points and 4.7 rebounds as a forward for VCU from 2013 to 17.
All the Colts do with him are like he gets in the goal line and his job is to like, hey, go run 2 yards and jump, and we'll throw you a jump ball. Like that's what he's doing out there. Keon
Coleman, he's been in the news quite a bit for his hilarious interviews. He's 6'4", played sparingly as a forward at Michigan State before focusing on football full-time in college with the Spartans and at Florida State.
He was bad at basketball. I saw some highlights of him playing at Michigan State. It was not good.
Yeah. These are players that may have mostly played in like high school, but some of them may or may not make sense. Bobby Wagner, he gave up high school basketball to pursue a college football career. Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey.
Dude, can you believe Bobby Wagner? That is the in high school. Whenever you play basketball, like in gym class, you're like, "Oh, the football players are here." linebackers trying to play basketball. That's Bobby Wagner. Like he is just fouling everyone. He's throwing elbows. Like that's hilarious. I didn't know he played high school basketball.
Yeah. CJ Stroud, a two-sport star high school and scored 31 points in this year's Celebrity All-Star game.
Good for him.
Cooper DeJean, he also
That's not his
rookie
name.
this year. How you say it?
DeJean.
Cooper DeJean. Why do I keep on making him like French or something?
You are. You're
Italian.
trying so hard to make him something.
He also played high school basketball. He scored 1,832 points, so pretty good. There's a long list. Devontae Adams apparently. Drake May and his brothers played. Jadavion Clowney played in high school, so quite a bit of players on this list. I butchered a bunch of names. Okay, I had another thing for us. Players, tall NFL players that could you see you playing in the NBA? So here's a list of them. The tallest NFL player right now is 6'9", and that
Eric
would go.
Armstead?
It says Dan Skipper, Colts veteran Dan Skipper.
Oh, Eric Armstead is allegedly 6'9" as well.
Oh, okay. Dan Skipper 6'10" apparently. There was a Richard Slide that was 7'2" at one point. Justin Herbert is the tallest NFL quarterback right now. Could he play any position? He's 6'6".
No.
Calais Campbell is, according to this article, the tallest NFL player on defense right now.
Oh, yeah.
6'8".
About old man Campbell.
Yep.
Yeah, he's old.
Yep. And then that Richard Sly guy was 7'2", played on the Raiders in 1967. I have no idea if he was good or not.
I don't know. Never saw him shoot a three. I don't know if he's got a jumper or not.
All right. So did you have any? I had one last thing for us.
No, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't think there's anyone like vice versa. I don't. It's just not a thing.
So the thing that I could see be a thing would be recent two sports stars that are NFL and baseball. And I wanted to list off these players just for fun. We had Kyler Murray, who is still a NFL quarterback for the Cardinals. It was famous at the time when he announced that he was going to, people could see him pursuing MLB or the NFL, and he decided to go with the Cardinals and was drafted number 1 overall in the 2019 draft. He had agreed to join the A's for spring training 2019 when he signed with them for $4.66 million. I have no idea if he got to keep that or not, but dang, if he did, that's pretty nice gig right there.
Yeah.
Tim Tebow, you remember this? Former Heisman Trophy winner.
Hit a little minor league stretch.
Yeah, he decided to pursue pro baseball career in 2016 and signed with a minor league contract with the Mets. Didn't get anywhere further than that. Russell Wilson. Wilson was a Rockies 4th round draft pick in 2010 after playing football and baseball at NC State. And he's even played 2 minor league seasons in Colorado's system. Did not know that, by the way. Some of these other, the MLB, NFL Big Three. Do you want to take a guess at any of these?
Like, who's done it?
Who's done it? That would be the one and only. I'll give you a chance.
So Dion, Bo Jackson, and then this last one's gonna be hard. I know it's gonna be hard. Dadgummit.
Played for the baseball team Cardinals, not the football team, and played for the Bills in the NFL. But this was in the 80s, so tough.
Oh, 80s.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Brian Jordan was selected 30th overall by the Cardinals in the 1988 MLB draft, and also in the 7th round of the 1989 NFL draft by the Bills. He played with the Buffalo for a little bit, was cut, and then caught on with the Falcons. However, played as defensive back from 1989 to 91, making the Pro Bowl. So pretty good. Jordan then gave up football to play full-time with the Cardinals in 1992 and would go on to have a 15-year MLB career from 1992 to 2006. So pretty good stuff right there. Yeah, and you listed off Deion Sanders, now famously the head coach for Colorado, and then Bo Jackson.
That's Mason. Mason's talking about football, not me.
Oh, dang it. We've been talking about football this whole time. This at the very beginning, we said no football was going to be talked about. Here we are, football.
We lied.
All right, fun little discussion there. Did you have anything else on that topic, or anything else that we've discussed in this episode?
Well, yeah, no. Shout out one more time. Sorry, football. PFF and Jason Lockenfora, you nerds, you idiots, said my team was moving to London back in 2012, and now look at you, idiots.
A hot topic in the group text.
Our group text, yeah. New stadium renovations have been agreed upon. Eat it, nerds. We're not going to London.
Eat it, nerds. We're not going to London. That's how we're going to end the episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode. We try to touch on everything here. We want to hear from you guys if you do want to listen to us talk about or rant on or scream about a different sport, a different subject, a different topic. Reach out to us, social media or personally. We'll definitely be open to, ranting on about anything. So thank you guys for you guys listening. Maybe we might have Zach in the future, possibly, ? Maybe. So tune in to the next episode of Messing Around Mondays. Thank you guys for listening. So long.